Stew to the point today.
It's to the point.
Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Yeah, I almost said good morning. I just want to say good morning. It's so sunny out today. Maybe it is where you are. Maybe it's not.
It's sunny here.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. Oh my gosh. I just hope that we actually...
Highlighting my cheekbones.
Yeah. Highlighting my...
Side boob.
My side boob. Welcome to On the Lamb podcast. A very silly, nitty place. We try to stick right to business. Doesn't really work out well. We're sisters.
No.
Yeah.
This is fun land, not busy.
It is fun land. It's get your coffee, get your knitting. And then that like segues perfectly into what kind of project would be right for recording a podcast and watching this podcast. Yeah, probably while watching it, I actually do more complex knitting stuff. Today, I'm going to attempt color working while we record. We'll see how the hat looks by the end of this.
And then at the end, don't correct anything. Just keep going. And then at the end, be like, and here's the after. What was I going to say? Yeah, it's funny when I watch some podcasts. Because sometimes I have them playing in the background while I'm doing other work. And then it's like all either like side by side the windows on my computer, or I will like cover one with the other. So it's like I can hear the voices, but I can't see the picture. And the amount of time that I spend going back and forth, like going back to the podcast, rewinding it so I can try and catch that thing that I wanted to see. Right. Like, oh, look at here where I did this. Da-da-da-da. I'm like, I can't see you. I'm like, or I was looking away to go back. Yeah, that happens a lot. And I was saying that my podcast project today is a sweater, and I'm trying to do the neckline shaping portion. I feel like we're both going to be doing this the whole time.
I know. Maybe I should
for projects.
Some socks.
I'm trying to do the shaping and redo the side that I had messed up the first time. I don't know what happened. Oh, I figured out what happened. So it's a cardigan that I'm doing a test knit for, and I was following the pattern along the way we're supposed to. So you like knit the whole like, panel that'll be the front and the back, and then you start splitting. So it's kind of like you knit across, decrease some for armpits, go across the back, decrease some, and then you keep working on what will be your left front. Mm-hmm. And I got to the part where you're really starting to shape like the neckline sort of area. And I was like, why do my stitch count is so much higher than what she has? So I was like, okay, I can't figure this out right now. I just need to like leave it, and I'll go to the middle back, because I figured that'll be a little bit more just like a straight rectangle going up-ish. And then I'll come back to the left front once I successfully do the back and the right front. Okay, so I'm back around to the left front now. Took it all the way back down to where you decrease for the armpit, started going back up and realized I completely missed 2 rows. Like, because of the different sizes, it's kind of like if you're doing this size, do these 2 rows, and these sizes do these 2 rows, and these sizes do these 2 rows. Like for row, I think it's like row 6 and 7, there's like 10 different spots of like instruction. Right. For the row 6 and 7 that I need. And so I like completely skipped over those and just went to the part where it said all sizes, where you like start actually like really shaping.
Gotta highlight, man.
Well, when I did the right front, I just went through and like circled all my size. So I was going to do a medium, but then looking at the measurements, I was like, I don't know. I feel like it'll be like negative or positive ease wise, it'll be really huge if I try to go to the medium. So I was like, oh, I think I'm going to go down to the small. So I went through on the right side and did like circled all the S's first to be like, okay, go here, then go here, and try to like check things off. So it just visually got it. But yeah, so I think I'm back on track. Assuming that podcasting and doing it at the same time doesn't mess me up.
When does she want the test knits to be done?
I think end of February.
Okay, so.
Which I feel like I'm in good shape, like doing the other side shoulder shaping. I was able to finish pretty quick. So now that I'm back on track with this side, I got probably about, I don't even know, maybe between 10 and 15 rows on like just this many stitches. And then I'm done this part. And then it's just joining it like a 3-needle bind off to join it with the back. And then I'm sleeve land and the button band.
Okay.
So button band's the only part that I'm like kind of worried about because it has to look nice.
Well, you want it to look nice, yeah.
Yeah. Well, like of all the parts of the sweater, it's the least hideable. Right? Like that's right down the front. So, and I've done like edging pickups before, like we were talking about yesterday with like abalone. Like I've picked up an edging before. It's generally not that bad, but I don't know. I think it's the actual buttonholes that worry me slightly, but I'll be optimistic. And I just figure she's like a bit flexible with her deadlines too. She's like, as much as possible, stick to it. So it's like if I have most of my sweater done by then and I'm just finishing up, that's okay. So I think I might, I don't know. I might do the button band first, just in case it takes me a little while, because I think the sleeves will be relatively quick. We'll see. Because it's supposed to be a full-length sleeve, but I'm like, it's minimal-ish shaping. Like it's not, anything too crazy. There's no color work on the sleeve. It's just do it.
I'm out. I can't do it. I've already made like it's a tiny little mistake, but I'm like, now I'll just be staring at this. I didn't listen to like the last 2 minutes of what you just said because I was thinking about this. Putting the hat away.
Yeah.
It's so close. The chart is so close to being done. That's why I'm trying to finish it, but nope.
Are you just doing one repeat?
Yeah. I decided for Jason's hat to do a slightly longer one repeat and then like customize however long we want the hat to be. Yeah.
Well, what you wearing? What are we wearing?
Well, I'm wearing something very exciting. I've worn it before, but wearing it today because just yesterday, Thamo finally released the pattern. Yay! Very exciting. This is the first pattern that I actually got to help you release. Ish.
No, the flamingo cowl. I feel like you started working on this one before that, but that one released first, but doesn't matter.
Okay, well.
So you're wearing the worsted weight version. Actually, it's funny. We're both wearing the blue brick, and I feel like
so this is
the right combination of angle and distance.
This is blue ain't your color cowl.
Yeah, blue ain't your color cowl. You're wearing we're both wearing, the yarn is both by the blue brick.
I can't put it on my face though. There's something about like the detergent that doesn't smell good to my nose.
It's funny because you said like that one has like a smell, but this one doesn't. I don't know.
You smelled it, right? Like
yeah,
you washed it a few times. It's not as bad, but like before it was like you walk past it and you could smell it. Now just if you stick your face in it, you can smell it.
Yeah, I'm not sure why it has a smell.
It's not sheepy. It's
like soap or something, like the wints or maybe the dye. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Like a weird smell. Anyways, so you're wearing oh crap. It's her worsted weight. It's her worsted weight. I can't think of what it's called. Tobermory worsted, I think, in the Grand Turk colorway. And I am wearing her DK. Damn it. I can't remember what her DK is called. Something else Canadian.
We'll put it in at the bottom.
A bird colorway. It's either feather or like crane or something like that. I don't know. I'll put it on the bottom. And it's also in the pattern. So pattern released yesterday.
Sold 7 copies.
11 now.
Whoa, yay. It is on sale, 50% off. So
yeah, it's on sale for 50% off. So we'll put the link down below.
You're eating.
Yeah, I don't know why I didn't.
It was right there. You just can't help.
I put my coffee down, and then I saw it, and I was like, "Oh, a piece of cookie." It's pretty much how my brain works. I had like a bad habit for a really long time of like every time I would want to say something to someone, I'd put food in my mouth right before I'd say it. I'd be like, why did I do that? Or like where you're yawning and I like don't stop talking through my own yawn. I'm like, you couldn't understand that. I'm like, that was gibberish. Like, why did I do that? Like the idea needs to come out so bad that I can't stop what I'm doing.
Well, it's because it's your brain especially. I think it just like it gets onto like a thought and you just continue riding it. Yeah. Come with me.
A lot of runaway train type thinking. Yeah. Anyways, so yeah, pattern is 50% off until Friday at midnight for the release week / Valentine's Day. Yeah. I'm going to post a link.
Better get this podcast out then.
Yeah, I'm hoping to get out later today.
Yeah. Let's keep it short so you can.
Today I'm going to repost a link to Sarah Blackwood's feed, because she had like a little preview of the song that she had released that partially inspired the Cowl. I realized, I was thinking about it today, I was watching Christy Glass Knits and she was talking to the Queen Stitch, who I had not heard of before, but she's like mostly a crochet wear designer. And she was talking about like a bit about like inspiration and just like cleaning up kind of she's making a big like life transition soon. And so she's talking about, spending some time cleaning up her brand and, just like tailoring everything to one look and this and that. And I was thinking a little bit about that just in terms of like brand story. Cause I think like each brand, each company, each designer, yarn company, whatever it is, things like evolve over time. Mm-hmm. And the more you like practice doing something, the more you kind of figure out like, why do I do what I do? What inspires me to do what I do? How do I, like, what is like for me as a designer, it's like, what's my design process? What comes into my brain that gives me inspiration to then take it to the next level, like create something out of whatever I saw. And I think about like a really important part of my brand story or my design process is like a marriage between stitch patterns that suit the yarn and yarn colors that suit the story of whatever I'm trying to make. So it's like this cowl, some people might look at it and be like, you put this work into this like meshy section. So if you can kind of see it, you put this work into this messy section, but not messy, meshy. But when you put it on, like it only kind of peeks out. You don't really see it in its full glory. And I was like, but that's not the point of the pattern. The point of the pattern was about the marriage between the yarn that kind of fits with the name of the song and like kind of getting the stitch pattern to follow kind of the way that the notes in the song progress. I was like, which is like maybe a different way to look at it than some other designer might look at it, Anyways, I just realized that I do that a lot where I see a stitch pattern and I see a yarn that has a name that goes with that stitch pattern. And then I'm like, now I need to create something that brings those together into one. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. I think it's cool to talk about because there's no right and wrong way really.
No, I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just like, it's like I'm realizing that is my design process and that contributes to like the story of what On the Lamb Designs is.
Okay.
Is that each pattern in many ways, each pattern is really often about playing around with certain stitch patterns, combining different stitch patterns, enjoying the process of making the thing that you will later want to wear. Mm-hmm. Like, so it's like, you could have made a plain cowl and it probably would have highlighted and shown off the yarn just as well. But adding in this panel, like for me, it was really fun to knit, like because of the way that I shifted the numbers and like it just, to me, it was like a fun little thing to add in. And then when you add in the element of the song, it's like, oh yeah, that is like, it, just brings in like another fun element for me anyway. Right. But anyways, yeah. I just realized I do that a lot where I like have an idea and then I'm like, now I need to find the perfect yarn. And then when I find it, sometimes it's like the perfect yarn or the perfect stitch pattern is what makes the name. Like the next probably the next pattern or the 2 from now pattern, that shawl that we were showing last week, it came together because I was listening to a TED Talk where somebody was talking about grit and what grit means. And so I was like, oh, this is like really intriguing to me, because like, without going into like a long drawn out, super personal tangent, we've had like challenges in our childhood. And so I think about like that grit, that resiliency, and like what that means and why that's an important part of who I am. And so I was like, yes, grit. I'm like, this is like interesting. Then I happened upon a stitch pattern that's called the grit stitch. And so I was like, yes, like this needs to be something. And then I saw the yarn that I was like, okay, now I see how like the yarn and the stitch pattern and the shape and like, you know, like marrying all of these things together. And it's like, you know, again, like the stitch pattern name came from like an obscure inspiration that had nothing to do with knitting, plus the stitch pattern that happened to like totally fit with it. Anyways, tangenting,
yeah.
but
I also, it also makes me think of like, you know, the difference between doing things that are your calling and things that versus like forcing something just because you want it. Like, you know, that's a hard thing. Like sometimes, you know, someone might really want to be a designer, but things aren't lining up that way, but you keep forcing it anyway, as opposed to like, this is like the essence of who you are. Like, it's just everything that you come across in life, it translates into that in your brain. You kind of can't help it. Like, you mean, there is some searching for what really calls to you as well, but like it all comes together. It is a it's a marrying of everything that you come across. Is
and it's like, and I've heard other people say this before too, is like when all the elements line up, then I feel like I need to do it. Like it's not like, well, people expect me to put out another design, so I better have something. I'm like, no, I don't care if nobody else likes this. I need to get this out of my brain, into my hands, into the piece, and then be like, okay, now that idea can be done. Like it needs to happen. And it's funny when you said about the maybe people feeling like, okay, well, everybody is designing, so I should design, or everybody's dyeing yarn, I need to dye yarn too. If it's not really who you are, it's not really part of you. It's like what we were talking about with, I was watching this Oprah Super Soul Sunday thing that I guess, I don't know if it's like a show on TV or if they only have it as like recorded things on our Rogers.
Oh yeah, I don't know about that. I think it's on her own network, if she still has it. I don't know. Anyway.
If you can find it, Oprah's Super Soul Sunday. So I guess on Sundays, she sits down, talks to somebody who like inspires her or whatever, and they talk about all sorts of different things. She was talking to Caroline Miss. You know who I mean.
I think people pronounce it differently. Yeah. I don't know what she says.
Yeah. Even when they were saying her last name, because it's like MYSS, but I swear they were saying it's not like Miss. And I was like, I don't understand where you're getting that pronunciation from.
But some people say like Mace. Yeah.
Yeah, it was different than I was expecting. Anyways, I can put her name on the screen. But one of the things they were talking about was like, I can't remember the exact wording she used, but kind of like that, finding your purpose or understanding your purpose, because it's not really something you find, it's something you always have. But just kind of like uncovering it and accepting that your purpose or your mission in life, whatever you want to call it, is what it is. And she said,
choosing to actually finally follow the breadcrumbs.
Like just accepting it without judging it, without worrying about what other people are doing or feeling like you have to do something else. And one of the good examples that she gave that I like really made me kind of laugh was like, one of the things she said is like, when people start to feel really out of sorts or they're not trusting their intuition and they feel disconnected, it's because they're chasing a dream that isn't theirs. And they're like, you know, classic example, American Idol. Like, we call it idol for a reason. Like, you know, not everybody can be an idol. Like, you're chasing a dream that isn't yours. Like, find your calling, not the idealized thing that everybody's doing. Anyways, I just thought it was really interesting.
Yeah.
This is like one of those things that, as much as I sometimes not turn away from it, but back burner it because I feel like I should be doing something else, it always comes back around that I can't not yarn, and I can't not put ideas to paper and put ideas to yarn, and, you know, I don't always turn them into anything anybody else will see, but I have to do it.
Yeah.
Anyways, what are you working on now?
These are socks for Jason. I was going to look up the actual colorway. Regia 6-ply. Not the cut like it, I mean this is how it shows up on the ball band. Excuse me, but when I bought them, it's not what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
I felt like how it's just sort of like crazy variegated.
Yeah. Was it digital color? Like, were those stripes that you put in or that came with it?
Oh, that just happened.
Really?
Because I'm doing both socks in tandem.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, no, you know what? It's sort of happening now, but not in the same place. You can kind of see one stripe there. Yeah, that just sort of happened. Could be because of stitch count, like the size that I'm doing, or maybe it'll keep repeating. We'll see. I don't know. Anyway, yeah. Started these just because we were at Thamo's house on the weekend. It was a good cast on for the car. And Jason's been bugging me for socks. And he wanted them. Usually you'd use a slightly larger needle size, but he likes tight socks.
Yeah.
He does not like soft, loosey, squishy socks. He wants them like tight on his foot.
Yeah.
And don't get. These are like, they're like sort of snug on me. And he's like, yeah, okay, that's fine.
It's crazy.
And his socks wear well. Like the first pair I made, that Regia pair, the Perfect, gosh, he wears them multiple times a week, and they are in such great condition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, I think, with NalediS, right? I think I had heard this before, that NalediS
but not entirely, because remember the first pair of socks I made for myself, I can't remember what the colorway was, but they were crazy socks. They had like pink and yellow and green and blue. Mostly they were
that mousy,
yeah, that whatever it was. That had a lot of NalediS, but it was different because they were just so tight that I was like stretching them to get on.
Yeah.
As opposed to like Jason's socks, because I always knit them on a smaller needle size. It's like I'm not stretching it to get around him.
Yeah.
Not fighting it to get on his foot. It's just tight. And there's a lot of like stitch density. I don't even know how you would talk about that.
It's the balance of like your stitch count plus your NalediS, right? Like you can't have a low stitch count and NalediS, because you're going to be pulling the stitches apart to make it fit. It's like as you go down in your gauge, you have to go up in your stitch count.
Yeah.
You have more stitches covering the same amount of area.
Right. Yeah, it does make sense. So that's what I do for his socks now. And I'm just learning that about him. And so, and you can tell like this has a lot of, it's so neat to see this yarn knit up like in this just small,
it looks like a melted Christmas tree. Like if you decorated a Christmas tree and then melted it, because it's like a lot of green and then like some red and like a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Well, that's the colorway, but I just mean like with on a 2.75.
Yeah.
As opposed to like a slightly larger needle. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Anyway, that's what that whip is. I got whips this week. I don't know why. I have like, well, no, that's not true. This had like a purpose. The colorwork hat is because I finally got the shorter cord for you. It's just like to help with reducing, keeping the consistency of the stitches for the color. Yeah.
Which is like, are you getting used to it?
Yeah, it's not so bad.
I found like once I got it, and
it's harder with the ribbing, going back and forth with like the purl.
Yeah. And I find too, like, because this is something I used to always like pick the longest possible cord that I could find. Not the longest. I mean, there's definitely longer ones out there, but I'd probably almost always be on like a 36 to a 40-inch cord, no matter how big the project was. So like socks would be like this much of stitches and then cord out to here, because like magic loop is just easier. But then, you're like pulling the cord to adjust. It's a bit of a pain sometimes. And so I get that people who don't like magic loop is because I think that's the image they have in their head. And sometimes it's like that, but not always.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be, right? Like, in case there's anyone watching.
Yeah, it can be reasonable. A couple inches on either side is not that bad.
And I kind of like use it and I just like hold it around my hand a little bit, like it's just sort of something to, it just like all melds together.
Yeah, but probably for the first time, either ever or in a very long time, that one knit that I cast on before we went to see Star Wars, I was like, okay, so I've heard that like it's easier to knit on a smaller cord when you're at the theater or somewhere dark, because then you're not adjusting the magic loop and having to stop. You can just knit, keep going in like a big spiral, basically.
Yeah.
And I was like, yes, okay, now I understand why people do this. So since then, like when I did the cowl with the color work, I used the same length cord. I don't know how long it would be. But the other thing I'm finding makes the difference for my hands anyways, is now I'm really getting used to using the ChowGoo 4-inch tips.
Okay.
These ones are 5-inch, but so the 4-inch, it would be like this. So that it's almost like it makes the cord feel like the cord is longer or something, because it's not like this much, is straight and then just a little bit of cord to connect them. It like keeps it in a little bit more. And I find it like on my hands, it's like, it just flies. The stitches just fly. Because I think with the color work I think it was with that color work cowl that I started after that workshop, I initially had put in the 5-inch tips because they were just what I had handy. And I did a couple rounds and I was like, no, this is not working. And so then I switched them. Like I had to like do a lot of searching through project bags to figure out where the shorter tips were. Finally found them, switched them around, and I was like, all right, now we're ready. Like now we're ready to rock.
Speaking of the shorter cord, Ada saw me, was watching me. I could tell in my peripheral vision, like she was watching me a lot in the car, knitting and crocheting. Like on the way down, I was crocheting. On the way home, I was knitting. And these ones, she was like, gosh, those are such tiny needles. Like she just like loved looking at that. Yeah. And then I was like, oh, I have even smaller, like thinking of the 2.25s you gave me, the ChowGoo, really short ones. I don't know how long it is. Yeah. Anyway, so then I showed her.
The 9-inch.
9-inch. Showed her when we were in the car, and she's like, "Can I knit with them?" I was like, "Yeah, you could. I think you've got your own yarn that you could actually do that." So yesterday, she didn't go for very long. Her intention was to make like this tiny scarf for her Barbie. I should have taken a picture because she was just like, "It's just adorable," with these like tiny needles and her tiny yarn. Yeah. Super cute. Because if you've ever seen the idea came from the movie Coraline. If anyone's ever seen that movie, oh my goodness, everything in that movie is made by hand by somebody, and one of the sweaters that Coraline wears is knit by a lady with like embroidery thread or sewing thread and tiny little sewing needles or something. Like I don't even know. Anyways, it's cool to watch the making of that movie.
Yeah, that was definitely one of those movies. I mean, I absolutely love, like, again, just being a crafty person, being a making kind of person. I really love movies where it's true, where there is true making involved.
Like the Lego movies.
And I'm not saying that I think that computer animation, stuff like that, is not a form of
making too.
It's a kind of making that I am not equipped to do at this point. Like, I have no skills, very little skills when it comes to, like, I'm lucky if I can make a Word document do what I want it to do, no less like some fancy computer editing thing. Like I just don't think in that format, in that medium. So watching like Wallace and Gromit, where they still use authentic claymation, whatever, stop motion style, that I'm like, someone actually made his face do every single facial expression.
Yeah.
There are parts where Gromit is knitting, and every time it comes on, the kids are like, yeah. Like, I know, because he's the original badass. So yeah, same with Coraline, and same with like Trolls. If you watch the special features of Trolls, all of Poppy's scrapbooks are actually scrapbooks that someone's whole job, which I was like, I want her life. Someone's whole job was to make all of those pieces out of felt and like glitter and jewels. And I was like, I want to be here. And then they were talking about how like all these people on the crew got like individual one of a kind made, like pretty big, good size, like felt pieces to commemorate the movie. I was like, like I want to do it. Anyways, so yeah, watching that special feature thing of Coraline, I feel like at that time really made me start going and like searching out Barbie patterns and stuff like that. Of course, I have 2 boys, so the chances that I'm going to make a lot of Barbie clothes is probably pretty slim. Not that we don't let our boys have Barbies. That's just,
there's just not their
they're
interest.
just genuinely not interested in Barbies. Yeah. I do a lot of costume making instead, but I'm like, I really want really tiny Barbie clothes. Like, that's what I'm like.
Insert pictures of what you've made for Ada's dolls.
Yeah. Which every once in a while I get, it's popping back in my head that I'm like, oh, we got to get going on some clothes for Bundle Up Betty.
Yeah, I think about that too.
I'm like, watching that Coraline bit that I was like, she didn't just knit the clothes for Coraline. She knit them using like basically sewing needles and thread, not even like light fingering or lace weight yarn, like actual thread. I was like, it's incredible, like truly incredible, like what people can do.
Yes. What people think to do. Yeah. Okay.
That I would for sure never think of.
Moving on to the next whip.
We've talked forever about Lord knows what.
We've been very efficient with our time today.
Well, I already mentioned I'm working on the sweater. Test knit for Soli Knits. I think it's a garçon sweater. I showed it a couple weeks ago. And hopefully by next week, my goal, I would like it to be done for next week, only because in a couple weeks, and I realized I didn't bring it up, I don't think I can show my actual whip. So one of my other whips, another test knit for Jenny from Sweater Freak Knits. I don't even know if her business is called Sweater Freak Knits. I always say it like but her Instagram handle is Sweater Freak Knits. And I think her
right.
But I don't know if that's actually like a company name or if she just knits or designs under her own name. Either way.
Yeah, I think she just designs under her own name because I've never seen it on Ravelry.
I think it is her handle on Ravelry, Sweater Freak or Sweater Freak Knits, and that is her Instagram. But again, like company wise, I don't know.
Okay.
Anyways, I'm doing a test knit for her, but I think it's like the actual pattern is supposed to be secret, so we're not supposed to show like our whips. But I was going to show, so it's
the minis
using mini skeins. Well, I was trying to be really smart. So it's using mini skeins. I needed 10 mini skeins to do this pattern. And I was like, I don't want to do a full-on magic cake because I didn't want to like tie them together because I wasn't sure, how close to the end of each one I was actually going to make it. But I was like, I also don't want to carry around 10 mini skeins that I'm either going to have to be like rifling around trying to find the right ball and stuff like that as I'm ready for them, because I put them all in a specific order and I was like, okay, I need to stay in that order or else it's not going to look right. So I did sort of like a semi magic cake. So I did cake them all together. So in my project bag, it's just one cake, but I didn't really like tie them. So you should see the magic cake. It's a little messy. Yeah, I mean, you can kind of see the stripes of like all the different colors as we go through. I used 2 mini skein sets, Yarn Enabler and a D-Stash one that I got from a Canadian D-Stash. Oh, no, an American D-Stash group on Facebook. That's all Lemonade Shop colorways. So I've 4 or 5 Lemonade Shop colorways. Yeah, I think I have 4 Lemonade Shop colorways and I don't know, should be 10 altogether. Oh yeah, it's 4 Lemonade Shop colorways that are like speckly and more kind of variegated. 5 solid colorways from this Yarn Enabler set that I had, and then 1 like a gray with different colors of speckles, and I can't remember what it is. I have to look it up because I know I used it for a shawl and it was just like a leftover ball that I had, and every time I look at it, it's like right there what the yarn is, but I can't quite put my finger on it. Anyways, I'll look it up at some point. It's just like a gray variegated with speckles of different colors. Anyways, so that's one more whip, and then I have.
You won't be able to actually show that until she releases it.
I don't think I can. I don't think I'm supposed to.
I'm gonna see it. I'm gonna make you show me a picture.
When you see hers, I mean, mine's gonna look like super funky compared to hers because she, I believe, used like the Cloudborn from Craftsy, the Cloudborn mini skein sets, which are all like solids and all like true gradients. So I think she used like 2 different sets together to like make hers so that she could get the 10 minis. So yeah, obviously it's beautiful, but it's much more like calm than mine is, whereas mine's like pretty bright. It looks a little bit like a crayon box exploded, but in all the best ways. And then I recast on this crochet project that I've been working on because I had this epiphany to change this design. It was gonna be like a weird diamond shaped shawl
that you can't wear.
Well, I just kept second guessing it. Like, is this wearable? Will it be the shape that I think it is? Because sometimes in my head, things are gonna do what they're gonna do. And then in real life, they don't do that at all. And I'm not really good at the mathematical side of like looking at this and being able to calculate what it'll be when we get to the end of the yarn. That's not how my brain works. I have to do it and see it. So then I had this like moment and I'm like, what if that, maybe I shouldn't give away my secrets, but what if that diamond was like, I can't help myself. What if that diamond was like the back panel of a sweater or like a vesty type thing? So it's like a diamond in the back, and then on these 2 lines, you would like knit like a long rectangle that would come over the front. And then at the bottom, you would like kind of join, not like join, but like kind of like crochet like a little filler to get from like the back diamond to the front. I realize that's very like conceptual.
No, I can actually
like picture something 3-dimensional, but
I get the construction. I want to see what it would look like.
I want to see what it'll look like too, which is why I like recast on, because I was using the vintage Free Fibers like ball that I had, and I was like, okay, well, all I have is this, and I'm figuring that the back diamond's going to take almost all of the shawl ball. So then I'm like, okay, but with that specific yarn, I don't know what I would use to get to the front. Whereas I had this in my stash that I've been holding on to for quite a while. It's also a shawl ball from Free Fibers, same exact base, the fingering weight, that single ply that's like almost a little bit felted. It's so beautiful. I really love this yarn. I'm trying to remember what the colorway is called. Neon or Xenon, something like that. So it's like, you can see the like light purple into this like really neon purple. And apparently it's the UV reactive. Like it's so neon that if you put a black light on it, that purple part will glow. So in one of their like Etsy updates where they sell off the like misfitty skeins, I got this, and then I got, and again, I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but I got the colorway that is like a solid ball that's the same as that most bright purple. So this version will have this as like a gradient diamond on the back, and then a really bright purple coming down the front.
Oh.
So we'll see how the yardage and everything works out, and whether or not I can get the shape that is in my head. But in between, when I need a break from all the test knits, that's what I'm working on. Any other whips for you?
Oh, yes. Sort of showed. I'll just show it again really quickly. This the colorwork hat that I'm doing. Oh, darn it. Don't really need to say too much more about it. It's
what did they call the pattern?
Yeah, I was just gonna look that up. Argyle hat.
What?
Argyle hat.
Well, on when we did the like course, there was a name for it. Because she has a couple other patterns.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. I don't remember.
I just want to say Carmichael, but I know that's not it.
Look it up later. Yeah. Anyway, so just adapted it a little bit. This is the Cascade 220, a heathered, got kind of a gray color, and a navy blue for my husband. And I'm just going to do one chart, not repeat. I'm only going to do the chart one time, and then well, I'll try it on him. We'll see. But I think I'm going to have to start reducing right away. So or decreasing right away. So I don't think I can do the chart pattern again. Anyway, so having fun. That's that. That's all I'm going to say about it. And other whip, again, very fast. My
Campbell Glen. That's what it was called.
Campbell Glen, yeah.
Campbell Glen. Because Kate Atherley, who did the course that we did, taught the course that we did, and I guess put together that pattern. She has a couple other at least one other. I think it's like Campbell Glen, like fingerless mittens or something like that with that
okay.
Argyle pattern, and maybe something else. But I know the hat wasn't on Ravelry when I had looked before.
Right. Sneeze. Oh, darn it. Sorry. I got tickles. It's like I feel like the yarn going up my nose. I think it's the Cascade 220 that's like the little fibers are flying all over the place.
I noticed when I blocked mine, there was a lot of fuzz in the water. And I was like, at first I thought it was dye. And I was like, what am I looking at? And then as the water went down the drain and the fuzzy layer, like just made like a slight reddish tinge through the sink. I was like, oh, it's like fuzzies.
Yeah. Okay, so then this is my abalone. It's sort of on timeout right now. I'm not happy with it just because of when I picked up for I could see it before I even picked up for the edging. But I just I'll show you a little bit closer. So this is the abalone by Beata Jazik on Tennis Fiber Arts, worsted pure wash in the caramel colorway. Finally loving the color. Every time I put it on, I'm like, yes, solid choice. But when I picked up, can you see, where am I? Right here.
Yeah. Well, I think I got that on mine a bit too.
It's because of when you join the shoulders and you're kind of separated away from what's going to become the back of the neck. Yeah. It just starts to pull. Yeah. And how I wasn't really thoughtful about when I joined the shoulders following her instructions. I like doing things in kooky orders just to be a rebel, I guess. So when I went to Kitchener and then joined back in, I was like, oh yeah, I should have thought about that. Cause on one side I have the strands for, where I finished the Kitchener on the outside, the other one's on the inside. I was like, that wasn't a smart plan. You should really follow the recipe. Till you know what you're doing. Anyways.
I think I did something similar. One thing I was going to say though is I think I did also get a little bit of gap because now that you're showing me where you mean, I think what I just ended up doing was when I was weaving in ends, I kind of intentionally weave them towards those spots and tried to.
I think I will too.
Ends because it wasn't big enough, especially at the back of the neck. I'm like, my hair will cover it. It won't be anything that'll really. But it won't be anything that really draws, if it was down here where you're there's a hole there that would draw your eye when people are talking to you, probably nobody's inspecting the back of your
I know, but still when you're it's my first sweater and I'm I pictured it with being flawless because I'm a little bit of a perfectionist.
For your first sweater, if that's the only problem you have, most people are going to punch you in the face.
I know, isn't it annoying? But this is
normal people's first sweaters, there's one sleeve is too long, or
I know. But, that's what's frustrating. It's this is why I prevented myself from having hobbies because I ruin it by having very unrealistic expectations. I will finish the sweater, but that's why it's on timeout. I'm disappointed in that. I'm sorry. It's not my fault. It's my father's fault. Sorry, Dad, if you ever watch this. You made me a perfectionist. Anyway, so I'm on to the sleeve part. But honestly, I'm not even working the neck, but just knowing it's there.
Yeah.
Bothers me. So I'm doing things that are working out a bit better. Anyway. Yeah, and so you can kind of see that the sleeve, I'm starting to decrease it. As neat too, I watched the Off Our Needles episode about superwash do's and don'ts. Yeah. Don't knit a large garment with superwash. Apparently, it sort of sort of thought this too. You can just tell because this is pure wash. It's not superwash, but I know that the feltingness of the fiber has been reduced. Yeah. So you can just tell it's more bouncy. It'd be neat to see once this heavy amount of yarn is blocking if it does just start to open up and stretch more. Yeah. Or even if I don't know if they just mean with blocking or with wearing that it will just start to stretch more because of the weight. We'll see. Neat experiment.
Yeah, it's interesting that they said that though because I feel so many people
everybody I see
garments with superwash, and so I was is everybody's sweaters just falling apart? Nobody's talking about it. We all just keep doing it. I don't. I know with certain kinds of things, it's nice to have the grab of the yarn holding the yarn, right? And definitely there are certain yarns.
Which I can feel the difference with this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even compared to Jason's other hat that I made with the Tannus Fiber Arts Pure Wash. This is like, it's holding on to itself, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. His other hat is like so bouncy and lovely and light, but it's fine 'cause it's a hat, whereas sweater. Yeah. I interrupted you again. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, that's fine. But I feel like with the abalone, it's not like, if it was a sweater that you'd put a ton of shaping into and it was supposed to be like negative ease and really like hug the curves, I'd be maybe more like, ooh, you know, like maybe it's going to start to lose that shape. Like people talk about, you know, trying to make a sweater with alpaca, and it just like, as soon as you're done, it starts melting because it's just the way that the fibers are. They just get longer and longer and longer. But I feel like with that,
it's not so much the shape and how it looks. If it's a cozy sit on the couch kind of sweater, that's not that big of a deal to me. Like as long as I can still wear it somewhere, and let's be honest, I probably would still wear it to the grocery store. But what I'm thinking is like the spacing between the stitches and like losing its strength, you know? So anyways, a neat experiment. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think for me, like one thing I definitely do is lose my place in my pattern. There's like so many just like patterns like this where it's 4 pieces of paper front and back and there's no page numbers. I'm like, I don't know where I am.
Oh yeah. See, page numbers.
Well, there is page numbers. I just noticed.
Oh, there.
Never mind. What was I saying?
I don't know.
Those are the kinds of garments, because it's superwash, that I would wash in my washing machine in a bag and then put them in the dryer, because the dryer is going to help them to like back up,
right? You
know, and get tighter. Like same with socks, like they'll relax out as you wear them, and I'm just like, go in the dryer and then they're good to go.
Right. So that's what I'll do. Which
is mostly, honestly, with certain things, not everything. And I don't, like right now, like a lot of the knits I've been wearing are mostly like neck wear. But sometimes that's actually what triggers me to remember to wash stuff, is that I'm like, I put it on and I'm like, it's so like, especially with the socks, because I'm like, they're socks. Like they're basically just cute ways to keep my feet warm and sweep my floor at the same time. I don't, you know, care to wash them all that often, but unless there's something actually, like the other day, oh yeah, those socks, the most recent socks you made me, which I don't think I actually showed.
I was going to ask how, I saw them at the front of the washing machine when we were there, and I was going to ask how they're fitting.
Oh, they were really good, except I was wearing them like the second or third day. Because when did you leave? You left on the Sunday. So on the Monday, I was making pasta, and I
on your birthday,
a spoon.
Oh,
like bounced off my foot. So there was like a pasta sauce. I'm like, well, guess they're going in the wash. No, they're fitting really good.
Okay.
Really well.
Really well.
How people say that?
Okay, what's your next whip? Or I can talk about one more of mine if you are needing to.
Do one more yarn. God, I can't talk. Do one more of yours, because I have another whip, but I didn't bring it up because instead I brought up the yarn for the next one. So you can.
Okay. All right. So my next one is a kind of a can't put down. It's being a jerk. I don't want to stop working on it, but I'm like, well, I've got other things I should do.
Yeah.
It's this one. And it surprised me. Well, no, because I kind of noticed it the first week. But then I was having issues with trying to get some parts right. The increase tab and the turn on the other side. The keyed up shawl.
Yeah.
Holy heck. Okay, between this cake, trying to like get to where the next color is, and watching the gradient change. Is that how you would say that? Watching the color change, whatever.
Yeah.
And just like having fun when you're in like the middle sections and you don't have to worry about the increase. Every time I get to the increase tab, I'm like, I'm gonna put this down. But then I'm like, I'll just do the increase tab so it's done for the next time. And then you get to like get back to the increase tab again. I'm like, shoot, I forgot to put it down.
I hear you.
So I love how lacy it is. You can see my body through it.
Yeah.
And look how huge it is.
Yeah.
You gave it to me. It was like basically from where right now where my armpit to armpit is, and it's like not that long, and so it's gonna be huge. And that's
I was gonna say, wait till you see how big it is when it's done.
I don't even know if I think probably I'm at about halfway.
I don't know. You'd have to weigh it.
It's a lot. It's gonna be huge.
But this is the funny, like, this is the interesting thing about this pattern is, like, because of the way it increases more lengthwise than it does depthwise, like, and it was one of those things that, again, it was like, I made the design, but I couldn't.
This is how much it increases every second row.
Yeah, but it increases, like, the height of each row is slightly less than that.
Yes.
So the bigger you make it, the longer it gets, rather than like it getting tons deeper.
Yeah.
So like once you're done, it's going to be like tons of space to like lasso your head.
Can you see the colors changing?
Mm-hmm.
In this light?
Yep.
Okay.
It's not like super dramatic, but yeah, you can see that it's like taupe to like a periwinkle-y combo, and then you can start to see that sea foamy greens coming in.
Oh. Just love it.
Yeah, it looks really good.
Honestly, I could do like this stitch pattern for a tablecloth for our house. So I'm like, I don't want to have to buy like tons of cakes to do one, but I think this monster cake with the right stitch pattern could cover my table.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right stitch pattern and the right gauge, obviously.
Yeah, and the right gauge. Because apparently I'm looser. It's crazy. Tamu's tighter crocheter than I am, and I'm a tighter knitter than Thamo is. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Depending on your hook, which I also, just like going on another tangent, recently watched or went on like a fun like binge of Arne and Carlos videos where it started with them talking about the dominant color and color work thing and how they're like, that doesn't exist in Norway. It's just called tension issues. Yeah. Which I was like, that kind of makes more sense.
Yeah. It made total, when they said it, I was like, yeah, it does make total sense. Like,
right? Then like the fact that the yarn decides it's going to be dominant, like that doesn't make any sense, does it? Anyhow, so then I was like, okay, well then how do you guys knit and whatever? And I just loved how they were talking about how you hold your knitting needles and how you hold your yarn and how tight you hold on, how loose you hold on. That's just your tension. Yeah. And to get the gauge you want, you don't try and like pull tighter or looser. Yeah. To get the right gauge, you just change needle sizes. Like you get your tools to work for you instead of like trying to change yourself with every project. Because I was trying to do that with socks for you. You like loose, Jason likes tighter. So I'm like trying to like change how I knit to make socks that you guys like. And I'm like, no, change the needles. So Jason will always be on smaller needles. You will always be on bigger needles. Yeah. Makes so much more sense. And then I can just actually hold it the way that feels comfortable for me. Yeah. That's what for you, I would like your socks sometimes would go in and out. Yeah. Like they'd be so wavy because I'm like knit how I like to knit, and then I'd be like, oh shoot, no, I wanted to knit looser for you. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Well, that's like you're gonna potentially hurt your hands like that, right? Like, yeah, not so much holding looser, but the holding tighter or pulling tighter could like damage your hands because I noticed more than what your hands want to do, right?
That's what was happening when I was trying to knit the blue 8-year color cowl. Mm-hmm. It was my hands would cramp. Yeah. And it would be so uncomfortable. It was like, no, I have to finish this for Thamo. And then it was terrible. We ripped it out immediately.
Such is life sometimes.
Yeah. Got to learn somehow. All right. Are you ready?
Yeah.
What are you going to talk about now?
Well, I have another design that I'm working on. I think I showed it. I might have showed it before. I can't remember. It was a gradient cake from Knit Picks. I had started like at the darkest part of the purple. Like it's like a purple gradient. I can't remember.
Oh, it looks like the stroll gradient that my crazy.
Yeah, it is stroll gradient. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyways, so I was on Knit Picks because they had a book sale. Oh my gosh. Remember I messaged NalediS and said, Knit Picks has a book sale, so I'm probably going to be ordering something. Do you want something? And you're like, no. So I put some stuff in my cart because I think they had like 40% off their books. And there was like a couple books that I knew I wanted anyways. And I was like, oh, maybe it kind of works out still to be a little bit of a deal, even though like exchange and all that kind of stuff. So I held off for some reason on ordering that night, and I didn't realize it was the last day of the sale. I'm like, well, that was good. So I went back in. They were still on sale a little bit, but just not as good of a sale. So I only ordered 2 books. And
so to soothe my sadness, I ordered 2 books.
Pretty much, yeah. Anyways, and then I was looking at the stroll gradients again. Because I already know like what my pattern is sort of gearing
towards. Yeah, it's pretty.
Save it until I get closer to the end. Anyway, so I was like, this colorway is like perfect for this pattern. So this one's called See You Later, but like SEA.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, it's just like so perfect for this pattern that I'm working on. So you can see the inside, I think it's like it's looking like black when I try to shade it, but it's actually like dark teal. And then it gets a little and more blue and more sea foamy. And then, I'm pretty sure when I'm, for the pattern that I'm working, when I get to the end of this, it's going to be like similar to the keyed up shawl, like a triangle, but with a really long point. And so I was like, okay, I need something that's going to like add on to make it wider. And I was like, I don't want to do another gradient. So I was like, oh, what if I pair it with, so this is the stroll fingering in their tonal, either their tonal lines or I don't think it's the hand paints. Yeah, I think it's the tonal lines. And this one's called Pacific.
So what would you start with? And what would that be next?
With the gradient.
The light side?
I think I'm going to start with the dark. So I'm going to go dark to light, and then this will be like the other end.
I look forward to seeing it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. And then for the one that I had already started, because the other thing I realized too was like, I think the gauge on it's like a little bit too tight. I think I'm using a 4.5 millimeter hook. I need to go up. So the other one's a purple gradient. And I was like trying to think like, okay, what could I add to the other end to like do something similar just to see it in like another colorway. And I was gonna go like a total that goes with it, like something with purples, but looking at all the purples online, I just wasn't quite sure which one to pick because the purples in that cake are quite gray. Like they're really like muted and toned down. Like, and then some of the tonals were like very like mulberry, like very warm, very red side of purple. And I was like, it's hard to tell from looking online. And I didn't want to order a whole bunch of them because I really don't need a whole bunch. So I decided to go complementary. So I already had a skein of this in my stash, but I was like, I need it for something else. So I decided to order one more, try to put that with the purples because I really like purple and yellow together. I might not be everybody's favorite complementary color combo, but I love purple and yellow together, especially this yellow. Like of any yellow, this has to be like on if I had to live in yellow land, this would be my yellow. I don't like pale yellows. I don't like really orange yellows. Like this has like a little bit, because it's tonal, it has a little bit of all the yellows, but it's very sunny and bright and makes me feel.
I would be more likely to stick that with green or blue.
The yellow?
Yeah. Ugh, depends. Well, it has to be the right tones again.
With blue, I could see, not green. Like this has greens. Obviously, they're not even in the same family. You probably can't see very well, but gross. I think we've established before, I don't generally love green.
Yeah. And I don't really love blues. Like I really try to stay as far away from like wearing blue as possible, except for blue jeans.
Yeah, well, blue jeans don't really count.
Yeah, I know.
I like blues. Like, again, it's like I just generally don't like any one straight color. Like, it's very rare that I like a true anything. Maybe a true red is like probably the only one that I like. But I like there's families of blues that I really like, and there's families of greens that I really like, but they're generally not that close to a true green. Like minty greens I like, and that seafoamy green I like, but it's like so pale and so light, or like tealy greens I like that are like so blue they're almost not green. Like those are kind of those colors that I would go to. Anyways, and same with blues. Like you know, I like this, it's so bright, but it's not really like crayon blue, you know?
It's funny because I can appreciate blue better for somebody else.
Yeah.
But as soon as you like try and get me to wear it, I'm like, no, get it. Get it away from me.
She says while wearing a blue cowl.
Well, I didn't make this. The purple was close to my face. Yeah. Alternate.
Oh, I'm so excited about this book.
Even not seeing your yawn still made me want to yawn. Just hearing it.
I am so excited for this book. Oh my gosh. There's so many cool charts in here.
Yeah. Thamo is just going to lock herself into her office with this book and come out with like little swatches of color work all over the place.
I have one long scarf that has like
all of them
of every single one. And I think what's cool with this book, and I haven't really spent a lot of time with it because it just came yesterday, but I think that, I mean, there's generally like all sorts of stuff like tips for better color work, and color dominance is a whole section. And steeking and swatching and all sorts of stuff. But I think that in the I don't know, what do you call it, at the back, index, it's divided by, the swatches are divided by stitch count. So say I wanted to do like a scarf, and I used a whole bunch of, like say I wanted to do a scarf where I used a whole bunch of different color work whatevers, I could go by stitch count. So like all the 8s are together, all the 9s are together, 10s and 12s and 14, 15, 20, la la la. So I could just literally go like, I want my scarf to have 20 stitches, and there are probably, well, oh, never mind. There's probably like 15 swatches I could use to make my 20 stitch scarf or whatever.
You mean 20 different ones you could choose from?
Yeah. It's really cool. I'm excited to get into this book. One thing I want to see though is like, I was trying to look at the front and the back of the book to see like if they had any specific like copyrighty thing in here.
Right. So whether or not you could use it.
Stitch dictionaries, like I can't really figure out why they exist. Like, are you allowed to design from them? Are you not allowed to design from them? You know?
I assume yes.
I assume yes too, because I feel like most likely, you know, there's only so many ways to combine knits and purls, and there's only so many ways to combine 2 colors or 3 colors or whatever.
Exactly.
You know, there's only so many potential design ideas without me like being ridiculous and being like, well, I'll just add one more stitch to this and now it's mine. You know what I mean? Like, and we all draw inspiration from each other in a lot of ways and from knitters past, right? Like, so most likely a lot of these charts are not pure invention off the top of someone's head. They're inspired by other color work that's happened in other cultures and in the past and la la la, right? So I assume you can use them, you know, within a design, but at the same time, I like to see explicitly written permission.
Yeah.
Rather than guessing or assuming, because I don't, if I've questioned it, especially if I've actually had the conscious thought of like, I wonder if you can do that, then I'm like, well, now I have to actually look into it. Whereas if I genuinely didn't actually think about it, then I feel like, you know, not like ignorance is okay, but you know, I feel less like, well, I'm not thinking the thought of maybe this is stealing and then being like, oh, it's okay. You know what I mean? Like I'm not giving myself permission to do anything I shouldn't do. And then I had to get this one too.
Custom socks. Cool. Okay, Atherley. Oh yeah, we were looking at that one in Shall We Knit, right?
Yeah. And I was flipping through it. I mean, I love that there's like so many tips and tricks and, you know, different sock construction information, but there's a few colorwork sock patterns that I really want to try out. I'll probably do
finally knit socks that actually fit.
I'll probably do them after I do my mucklucks because I already have those.
Yeah.
Those are in my Make 9 for Colorwork socks, but sockish. Yeah. I like resource-y type books. I don't always read them cover to cover, but
No.
I'll kind of flip through and see, like, there's sections where we're talking about yarn choice. So I'm like, I already know what kinds of yarns I like to use for my own socks. I'm not super worried about that section, but then there's other parts where it's like, finding the right heel or the right toe or the right stitch count or gauge or whatever. Like, those are the parts that I feel like I need.
Yeah.
I could learn something there. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
I have one yarn acquisition.
Pardon?
I have one yarn acquisition to show.
Mm-hmm. What is it, Miss Louise?
Well, finally went shopping on Crooked Kitchen Yarn website.
Oh, yeah.
Because I needed to see if she does dye more than just gray, or if that's just what Thamo buys.
And what you ordered was gray.
And then what I ordered was gray. Well, it's not for me, it's for Jason. But then I was looking at, I think she's got an update recently on Instagram, and I was like, darn it, they're so beautiful. I just want to buy more.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to be good and wait until I actually have a project in mind before I buy more yarn. Because I just keep finding more projects. I'm like, yeah, I need to make you a hat, Jason. Let's do this. Anyway, so it's Crooked Kitchen Yarn. It's called Spate of Gray. It is a sport weight, if I remember right. Is that what I got? Oh my gosh. Spate of Gray, Merino Sport. It's a Merino Sport. She spells it.
Yeah, I love that one. Merino.
A squishy cowl for Jason. Very excited about it.
Oh, yeah.
I passed it on last night, but I was like, no, I'm going to do a colorway hat that's waiting for me. Oh, and then she very kindly put in this little extra. She put 2 little mini skeins, little mist dyes for Thamo and I to share.
And I have it. It was right here. It disappeared. Hold on one sec.
Thank you. What?
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you, Laura. I'd love to see what it's actually supposed to look like, because this is super cute.
I think it's the light blue is pretty well the color, and then it's like orange specks, because she labeled it for us so we'd know what it was supposed to be. And it's called Koi Toy. So this is her superwash BFL and nylon base. It's really nice. I like it. I like the feel of BFL because it's like a little bit rustic. Like it has that roughness, but it's also apparently very strong. So I actually quite like this. Yeah, I think it's supposed to be orange, not this like pinky, fuchsia-y, reddy kind of color. But fun.
It's super fun.
I don't know what I'm going to use it for, but
I have no idea.
Put it in my mini stash.
Something.
Yeah. Thanks, the lady, for sharing.
Well, obviously. Okay. Thank you for your like 3 trips to her house to get it.
Was mostly my fault.
It's fun. And the lack of complaining about it. I would have been like grumbling a lot about the exercise.
Well, the first time for sure was totally my fault. Like, I'm so bad with directions. It was a Tuesday, but I was having a Monday. Like, forgot my phone almost forgot my phone one time. Couldn't call it because I'd left it on silent. Was like so annoyed with myself. Finally found it. Left the house. Came back. Again, forgot my phone at home. Left the house for something else. Oh no, I don't know. Oh no, with that on the
first time you forgot your phone, you were driving around her neighborhood and couldn't remember where to go.
Yeah, well, that was the thing is like I thought I knew the way to her house because I've been there a few times to pick up yarn, and I was like, honestly, when I actually went back and got to her house the next time, I was so close. I was like on the street before the street, like
right.
And I just kept second guessing. That's my problem with directions is like, I'm not good with street names. I don't really pay attention to street names. I need landmarks. And like a lot of neighborhoods, there's not really good landmarks, like it's houses kind of blurred
together. Gray house.
Yeah, all the houses sort of look the same. So it was like, yeah, I drove up the one part and was like, I think I got to keep going one more street. And that was wrong. I was really close, but just a little far. Anyways, whatever. Got it eventually. Oh, yes. I can't stop yawning now.
You're doing fantastically for time because Jason has to leave for work in like 10 minutes.
Sweet.
Hooray for us. Okay. Anything else you want to say, Thamo? Anything else you want to share? Cool.
I'm hoping my Tannis kit will come today.
Oh, right, for that love scarf.
Yeah, all you need shawl.
I'm waiting for our flock on the plane yarn.
Oh yeah, that too. I just don't understand. It's so annoying. They like go put codes into the Canada Post app so I can track them. So I can stalk them through the mail and check on them every day. And for some reason, my Tannis yarn went from Montreal, which is on one side of me, to London, Ontario, which is on the opposite side of me. I'm like, the yarn drove past my house. Why didn't you just drop it off in Cambridge?
Yeah, I know, right?
Like, so it said that service, because it'll give you like, I don't know, based on Canada Post's calculations, when it should be at your house. And most of the time they're either like dead on that date or sometimes the day before. But on a rare occasion, it's like the day after. So yeah, service delivery standard was yesterday. And now it's saying that it's been processed in Cambridge, but it doesn't say out for delivery, which tells me I'm probably not even going to get it till tomorrow. Screw you, the post. Annoying.
Yes.
Anyways, what can you do?
That just reminded me, oh my gosh, we've been singing all morning. What you gonna do?
That's what I just said.
But did you say it?
Yeah. Because you came on earlier and said it.
Yeah.
The boys this morning, while we were getting ready, asked me if they could listen to, what did Reese call it at first? I don't know if he called it the Don't Stop song. And I was like, Don't Stop song? And he's like, no, TikTok. Because we have the game Just Dance. And TikTok by Kesha is one of the songs that they like to dance to. So while we were getting ready, surprisingly, it actually kept everybody on track, which most of the time when I put on things, it distracts them from getting ready. Right. They actually, like, Reese was putting on his snow pants and, like, dancing around. Oh, it was cute.
That's cute.
Oh. Another cute thing this morning was Miles. I come downstairs and, like, you know, sit down to eat breakfast with them, and Miles goes, I'm working on a really good birthday present for Daddy. Like, it's February and Steve's birthday is in November. I was like, oh, what's Daddy? But he just, like, all he has in his head is like the order of everybody's birthday. Yeah. It was like, it was his, then it was mine. It was just Reese's a few days ago. So now he knows that the next one will be Steve's. But I'm like, still like a really long time away. Anyways, I was like, oh yeah, what are you going to get Daddy for his birthday? It's like, I'm going to get him a really big truck. Well, a really good truck, a transport truck for his work, and a garage and a toy truck for Johnny. Steve's partner. I was like, oh my God, you're so cute.
That's sweet.
Oh gosh, so I had to text that to Steve, be like, Miles has got working on your birthday present.
That's got some thought to it too. Like,
yeah, I'm like, it was really, but it like seemed to come out of nowhere because he's just eating breakfast and they were watching Wild Kratts. It's not like they were watching anything about trucks or anything. It was really cute. That kid cracks me up. All right, people. We'll put the link down for the new pattern, so go grab it before the code expires on Friday. And yeah, see you next time.
Yeah, see you next time, people. What's that?
So check you later.
Yarn on.
Yarn on. Bye.
Bye. Bye.